Madam Speaker, what grade should we apply to the following statements? The average family of four is expected to spend over $800 more for food this year. 16% of Canadians fear that they won't be able to afford groceries in 6 months. Poverty and food insecurity have risen 40% in the last 2 years. And saddest of all, 2 million visits to the food bank in 2023, 4 million visits expected this year. So since the Prime Minister is said to be judged by the cost of groceries, how does it feel to flunk his own final exam, the one he himself wrote?
Honourable Leader of the Government in the House.
Madam Speaker, it's very hard to explain the Conservative position on this matter when you consider that the Canada Child Benefit, increased benefits for seniors, a lower tax rate for every single income tax paying Canadian, school nutrition programs, all of those things. Every single one resisted and voted against by the Conservative Party. I would urge that member to speak to his whip to be able to stand up and support these people next time it comes to a vote.
Member for Chatham-Kent-Leamington.
Mr. Speaker, let me explain taxes to the people across the way. The consumer-facing carbon tax was designed to raise the price and discourage use. Why don't they understand that when they apply 4 more taxes to food, that prices rise? They've applied the inflation tax from deficit-inducing margins, the industrial buried carbon tax. What else have they done? They've added a clean second carbon tax disguised as a fuel standard and a fuel packaging tax disguised as a plastics ban. That's why food prices are rising. Does that not deserve an F grade?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about the things that this government is doing to actually make life more affordable for Canadians. And in doing that, I want to talk about Maya in my riding, who wrote me a letter this week. She said that she moved back to Toronto to be closer to family, which meant leaving a corporate job and its benefits behind. She was particularly concerned about how to manage her expenses around dental and prescription costs. She applied for the dental care plan, and it has been such a relief to no longer worry about dental coverage. Thank you for advocating for affordable universal health care that includes dental care. Maya is one of 3.6 million Canadians who are benefiting.
Honourable Member for Bow River.
Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister said Canadians should judge him by the price of groceries. Well, Madam Speaker, the verdict is in, and this Liberal government is guilty. In Vulcan, the local food bank is overwhelmed. Hampers have doubled year over year. Families are driving half an hour at least just to pick up food, and the food bank is spending thousands on gas cards just so people can afford the trip. Families are skipping meals, and the Liberals are skipping accountability. Taxes on fertilizer and farm equipment stress the food chain and raise prices in the store. Will the Prime Minister scrap his industrial...
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Madam Speaker, all the Canadians that are watching TV this morning at QP will judge the Conservative for what they fought against, Madam Speaker. They would be slightly more credible if they didn't vote against pharmacare. They would be slightly more credible if they didn't fight against childcare. They might be credible from time to time if they didn't vote against dental care, Madam Speaker. At every step of the way, they fought against providing support to Canadians, Madam Speaker. The Canadians that are watching at home this morning don't understand, but they know one thing, that this Liberal government is always going to fight for them and their families.
Madam Speaker, since 2015, food inflation has soared 40%, part of a cost of living crisis that has left millions of Canadians struggling to afford housing, transportation, and groceries for their families. In fact, many Canadians have become so desperate they are forced to rely on food banks each and every week just to be able to afford their rent and to continue to survive. Madam Speaker, the Prime Minister said Canadians would judge him by the cost at the grocery store. Well, prices are still increasing, so what exactly is the government's plan?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My colleague asked what our plan is. Our plan is clear. Protect and create jobs and invest in major national projects which will have economic benefits across the country, including in my colleague's riding. That's what Canadians expect from their government. While there are trade tensions throughout the world, we have a plan. Canadians expect us to follow that plan, and they expect to see results, which they will see.
Our River.
And yet, Madam Speaker, prices are still increasing, and I wonder why. Inflationary deficits, money printing, taxes on businesses and on fuel, all Liberal policies that have turbocharged inflation over the past decade and that remain in place to this day. Now, the Prime Minister likes to pretend that this is a brand new government, but so far, Madam Speaker, it's just the same old Liberal policies. If they really want to show Canadians they've changed, why not steal another Conservative idea and end the taxes on fuel and on food?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Madam Speaker, let me tell you about the impact of some of those Liberal policies. Here's a fun fact for a Friday. Since the Leader of the Opposition was Minister of Employment and Social Development, Madam Speaker, since the Leader of the Opposition was the Minister of Employment and Social Development, those Liberal policies that the member opposite refers to have reduced seniors' poverty by 30% and reduced child poverty by 38%. This year alone, we have increased the Canada Child Benefit by $345. That's over $8,000 for support for every child.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Manning.
Madam Speaker, I have food for banks in my riding. That tells you something. Food crisis. Canadians cannot afford to buy groceries or enough of it anymore, choosing less nutritious food and eating less quantity and in quality. Since Liberals took power, groceries soared by 40%. The Prime Minister can do something. Stop taxing food so Canadians can eat. Will he do it?
The Honourable Minister of Environment and Climate Change.
Madam Speaker, I would really like to clarify some of the misinformation that we're getting from the other side in this moment. So when they're talking about clean fuel regulations, which they refer to as a tax, let me quote to them. The regulations are not a tax, but a technology-enabling regulation. This supports investments in emissions reduction technologies. Who wrote that? The Canola Digest. We're going to stand with our farmers. We're going to stand with Canadians to build for the future. They're trying to bring us back into the past.
Member for Edmonton Manning.
This government is very creative in bringing more taxes on Canadians. Here's why. Beef up 33%, tuna can up 19%, potatoes up by 16%, pork up by 14%, vegetables up by 13%, oranges up by 12%, and chicken up by 11%. How many food banks need to come in Edmonton Manning before this Prime Minister cut taxes on food for Canadians?
The Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, from the other side, you would think that pollution has no cost. But if we're talking about expenses of it, look at the insurable losses in Calgary after a hailstorm. In a single hour, $3 billion in costs. That doesn't even include the uninsured costs that came from that event. We're going to keep fighting climate change. We're going to keep supporting Canadians. We're going to keep investing in our economy. They're trying to drag us back into the past.